Ladies and gentlemen, namaskar, and welcome to the 16th edition of the Jaipur Literature Festival, protected by Dettol, Banega Swasth India at the Darbar Hall. We are delighted to introduce on Ageism and Aging with Carol Black, Nidhi Chawla, Mathew Cherian, and Reshmi Chakraborty in conversation with Asad Lalljee. This session is presented by LIC. We are excited to introduce our superstar panelists. This is a session which explores the nuances of aging while facing the reality of ageism, which includes discrimination in employment and healthcare. Professor Dame Carol Black is the chair of Aging Better and an expert advisor on health and work to the NHS England and Public Health England. Together with Mathew Cherian, the former CEO of Helpage India, Nidhi Chawla and Reshmi Chakraborty, the co-authors of Rethink Ageing, Lessons in Aging from the Older and Bolder Generation, and Asad Lalljee, the panelists will discuss and challenge the inequalities and stigma around the autumn of life in conversation. Our first panelist is Carol Black, who is currently chair of the British Library. She is also a national director for health and work and has completed 4 independent reviews for the UK government of the health of the working age population in 2008. Next is Nidhi Chawla, the CEO and co-founder of Silver Talkies, a community-led platform focused on making healthy aging a viable goal for older adults. She is also the co-author of the book Rethink Ageing. Next is Mathew Cherian, a civil engineer from BITS Pilani and a rural management graduate from IRMA Anand. He is the author of 2 books, A Million Missions and Aging and Poverty in India. Mathew has set up the Credibility Alliance, GuideStar India, and Charities Aid Foundation. He has worked with Helpage India as the CEO for 18 years and is now the Global Ambassador for Aging with Helpage International. Currently, he serves as Honorary Chair of CARE India. Reshmi Chakraborty is the co-founder and chief editor of Silver Talkies, a social impact platform for healthy and active aging. She has worked as a journalist for over 20 years and continues to write for various national and international publications. Rethink Aging is her first book. And lastly is Asad Lalljee, the SVP of SR Group, the CEO of Avid Learning, and the curator of the Royal Opera House in Mumbai. Under Laljee's leadership, Avid has distinguished itself with a variety of arts and cultural programming and is currently at the forefront of India's cultural hub. Lalljee also has several years of advertising, publishing, marketing, and business development experience, both in international and domestic markets. We're looking forward to a fantastic session.
Good morning, everyone. To begin, let me quote the golden words of American feminist writer and activist Betty Friedan. Aging is not a lost youth, but a new stage of opportunity and strength. The world is getting older, and it's getting older at a rapid pace. According to the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs 2019 report on aging, there were 703 million people aged 65 or older in 2019. It is estimated that that number will reach 1.5 billion by 2050. So one in 6 people around the world will be of age 65 by 2050. Yesterday, I read a couple of very interesting facts. Workers in France are striking over Macron's plan to raise retirement age to 64 from 62. A graying China may have to put off retirement and workers aren't happy. Most Chinese workers retire by 60. With the population aging and pension funds running low, the government is going to change that. Globally, we are passing through a longevity revolution. With life expectancies rising, the population of adult life spent beyond the age of 65 has increased, especially in the high-income countries today. It gives me immense pleasure and pride as I share the stage with some of the biggest names and voices working tirelessly to demystify the multidimensional arrays of aging, bridging the gap towards understanding elders' needs, and actively making active aging a desirable and a viable goal for older adults in India and the UK. I'm going to start with Carol. According to the Center of Aging Better that you are the chair of, the State of Aging 2022 report states, in a period when state pension has risen to 66, employment rates among people are approaching retirement have fallen to the lowest levels since 2016. 1 in 5 people of pension age are living in relative poverty. How challenging has it become to grow old in England in this present circumstances?
Thank you. Well, it is challenging. It's challenging.
Can you hear her?
Thank you. It is quite challenging, and the figures you just quoted are really important because since COVID, the number of people age 50 plus who've decided, or perhaps because of health reasons, not being able to work is truly worrying. Now, it may be that they felt after COVID that there were other things in life worth doing. For some people, they had more caring responsibilities, and for others, their chronic conditions got worse. But we need those people back in work because our productivity has gone down, our economic activity has gone down, and for many people, they won't have enough money to live on if they're going to live to, let's say, 90. So it's one of the really big concerns of the UK government at the moment. How do you persuade those people 50 to 65 to return to the workplace? They often don't feel welcome. They feel that being 55 plus, they're not appreciated in the workplace. They don't often get the training and upskilling they would like to have. There's not sufficient flexibility, and many of our employers do not recruit with an age-positive approach. So it's a problem.
What about the 2012 Olympic legacy we were talking about, the health and the fitness of the nation?
You mean from our Olympic legacy? Well, I fear we don't have a legacy of that. How I wish we did. I mean, I personally think keeping physically active is one of the most important things you can do as you get older, because physical activity allows you also to have social interactions. And if you think about it, I think those two things of keeping physically active and retaining your social connections. So at home, we've got the age-friendly movement, which comes from the WHO, age-friendly communities, and our Centre for Aging Better is really in charge of that in the UK and developing the number of age-friendly communities. So transportation, good housing, keeping people active, but above all, allowing them to connect to each other. Loneliness is a real problem as you get older.
I think you'll find some of those similarities with what is happening in India. So moving closer to home, I'm going to ask Mathew the next question. At present, India is considered the second largest global population of aging citizens. And according to the Helpage India report 2022, that you were the CEO of until June of 20, Bridging the Gap, Understanding Elders' Needs, India has 104 million older people, 60 plus, constituting 8.6% of the total population. You gave me your book yesterday on aging and poverty. And I also read this one where you called India as a senior citizen. In your book, India was at that point in time 72 years old, but now India is a senior citizen, 75 years old. But with respect to your very rich professional experience, how do you understand and define ageism? And have attitudes against ageism changed over the years?
Actually, ageism relates to the discriminatory attitude in society as you grow old. Very often you hear that age is only a number, but actually in India it matters because there are two kinds of discriminations. One is at the institutional level and another one is at the family level. At the family level, as soon as you grow old, there is an increasing level of elder abuse in the family, which is by your own children. There is also neglect. There is also verbal abuse. There is also physical abuse in some cases. And one of our studies pointed out that 1 in 4 older persons in India experienced elder abuse in the family. And very often this was not done by anybody outside the family. In the majority of cases, in about 45% of the cases, it was done by their own son. India, actually, they long for a son. We have a preference for male children and they prefer a son. And the son goes ahead and abuses them. And followed by a daughter-in-law and followed by the daughter. Very often in Hindi serials, you have this Saas Bahu syndrome, where they always accuse the Bahu. This is a gender bias in our society. And actually, it is not the Bahu who abuses, it is this son. And we always say that you have to change attitudes, and these discriminatory attitudes continue. At the institutional level, we have city planners. Of course, we are trying to bring on age-friendly cities in the country because we do not take older people into our city planning, into our transportation planning. Even in the city of Jaipur, I am sad to say that pedestrians are not given any preference and older adults find it difficult to walk on these streets as well. And this applies to all the cities in India. So these are the forms of ageism which exist in our society.
Sure. Thank you for that. Nidhi and Reshmi, congratulations on your book, Rethinking Aging, Lessons in Aging from Older and Bolder Generations. Nidhi, I'm going to start with you as the co-founder and CEO. Firstly, what was the main motivation and inspiration for you guys starting this community-led platform, Silver Talkies? Tell us a little bit about the club, the community you have built, and how has that been the impetus or the voice given for this book?
Sure. But before I start, I think I would just like to, say it's a real honor to be sitting between Carol and Mathew, who've been the pioneering change makers in the field that we are working in. And I think Silver Talkies is a small contributor to the change I think that we are all driving for. So, the journey of Silver Talkies started with observations from home, because when Reshmi and I, we were still kind of being stay-at-home mums, and we were observing our own parents who had retired. So like when my father retired, I had made a general assumption about his retired life that he would really pick up hobbies. He would do things which he did not have time for while he was busy raising a family or pursuing a career. So my retirement gift to him, the day he retired, was loads of art supplies, because he was very fond of sketching and drawing. He dabbled with those art supplies for 3 to 4 months, and then he went back to his old ways of being idle or just watching TV, just going for one morning walk or running errands and chores. And in case of Reshmi, she saw her father becoming socially isolated. He would stop going out. So, these were things we were observing at home. And when we went out looking for opportunities for our own parents, we realized there was actually nothing at all which was happening for older adults. And there was so much that goes around for younger adults or for children. And we as parents also, tend to focus so much on what our kids need that sometimes we completely lose sight of what our parents may want, because they're always our parents. So, we assume that they do not need our care. They do not need anything more than just a hi, hello, or just care in some ways. So, in fact, one of the interesting observations that Reshmi and I made at one of the other Lit Fests that we were at in December, when we asked in the audience that when you pick up the phone and you ask call up your parents, what's the first question you ask them? And can you guess what was the most common answer that could have come? And what would your answer be? When you call up your parents, what's the first question you ask them? What do you ask about?
How's your health?
How's your health? We only ponder over their physical health, completely losing, the point that actually it goes so much more beyond just their physical health. And that's where the silver talkies, concept came about, where we wanted to keep a very keen eye and sharp focus on active aging as a goal for older adults, because the active aging framework says that there are 7 dimensions of the wellness framework that one needs to look at, including your physical, but also your emotional, social, and intellectual well-being, your vocational well-being, your spiritual well-being, and what Mathew was saying, the infrastructure also needs to support you, the age-friendly communities that Carol was talking about, right? So we basically are a social networking and an engagement platform exclusively for the 55 plus, where the idea is to bring, create an empowered society of older adults where they learn to take care of themselves and are empowered enough, and with the enabling ecosystem, they find companionship amongst themselves. They continue to be lifelong learners. They continue to stay productively engaged through second career opportunities, all in a community format, in a community-led platform. So that's what Silver Talkies is all about.
And is it primarily online or online and offline?
So actually the journey started being offline only in Bangalore, but pandemic forced us to pivot, and it was our silver lining because we went online, and now we have members from all over India, few even abroad. So now we follow a hybrid model where we continue to engage them through online sessions. They continue to interact virtually, but we also meet physically at least once a quarter. And the beauty of the model is that they have actually found, the members have found multi-city friendships now. So if you are in Bangalore and traveling to Mumbai, you will find friends to catch up with in Mumbai because they found them through Silver Talkies. So, so the geographical boundaries have become is not an issue anymore.
Wonderful. Reshmi, you're the co-founder and the chief editor of Silver Talkies magazine. We'll come to that later. But could you share some of the interesting narratives of aging and best practices that you all have actually documented in this book? And are there any common stereotypes with older adults that you all have noticed?
Thank you. And to echo Nidhi, it's a real honor to be part of this panel. So lots of interesting narratives. In fact, I wish we could really put all of them. One of the key things that we observed, in fact, this is a conversation Nidhi and I were having with a friend yesterday. While we were researching this book, while we were speaking to people across India, not just Silver Talkies members, but people from all over India, they could be, from the middle to upper middle class. So before I go ahead, I want to clarify that in this book, we have mainly looked at urban older adults. So that is the milieu of the book. For instance, Mathew's works kind of encompasses, the entire gamut of older people in India. So the focus of the book is urban older adults. And in that sense, it's actually looking at the surface, because our idea was to start a conversation, at least, in the area we work in. And we work, Nidhi and I work with older adults. So, the conversation we were having yesterday with a friend was on what was our learning and takeaway from this book. And I think for both of us, it's the strength we saw in people. Aging is not an easy journey. We may say we have all kinds of these wonderful sayings on age, but it's only when someone reaches there, you can't control physical ailments, right? You may not have the kind of money that you really need to ensure you are comfortably aging. Even if you may be in the middle class category, you may not have that. You may not have many other things which made life as a younger person much easier. But everyone we spoke to who had transitioned to age in a way that enabled them to live if not entirely healthily, but make their best effort towards it, be socially engaged, all of them had such strength. And that was our biggest learning, the strength to transition there. And the strength to really stay focused and in some ways, look at that end goal, that whether I live up to 65 or 95, I have to be someone who can manage myself, stay as independent as possible, and what can I do to work towards it?
I know we want people to buy the book and read this, but you must be having one or two interesting anecdotes that you want to share from the book.
Of course, very happily. One of my most, I think both of us kind of agree with that. There are two narratives. One is of this lady whom we have called Mrs. K because I heard her story from her physician, and she didn't want to give away her full name because the lady has now passed on. We hear about, all of you have heard about people running marathons at 70 and all these things, right? Now the mainstream media is writing about aging a lot. All of us have heard that. Mrs. K didn't run a marathon. Mrs. K did not, climb any mountain or anything. She had a simple goal. She had osteoarthritis. She wanted to walk properly, as independently within her house, in her building, live as independently as possible till she passed on. And with the help of a physiotherapist who gave her very simple points, she followed that until the day she died at the age of 96. She was as independent as possible. Even if she was walking with a walker, she did not need anyone else's help and support. And that, one of the reasons it's very close to our hearts is because this is not someone who's a super achiever. As we say, people are doing extraordinary things as they grow older. This is someone, a regular person who's living a very regular life, who's decided, I won't let age, I'm not going to sit down and, depend on others just because I'm older now. So that is definitely one. Then there are companionship is something very close to Nidhi and my heart. Silver Talkies is also trying to work towards it. The companionship stories are really special, and somebody there, she's mentioned in the book, this lady called Asavri who lives in Pune, who decided to go in for a live-in relationship. She wasn't really lonely. She had a brilliant circle of friends. She's a very regular middle-class lady from Pune. She said, I feel the need for a companion. I don't want to grow old alone. I feel the need to share things I love with another person. And she came across this gentleman in you could call it a senior citizens mixer. There are groups now across India that bring senior citizens together. And there is one such in Pune. And she came across this gentleman there. And they decided to stay with each other and be each other's support and, source of strength through the years. They really did not give in to, we can all imagine the kind of guts it would have taken to stand up to the ageism, society, everything. Younger people face problems when they get into a live-in relationship. So these are two narratives that are really, really close to our hearts.
Thank you for sharing. So you guys have to buy the book and read the other ones. They're more interesting. I'm going to turn to Professor Black. Older people want to be a resource. They don't want to be a burden. And culture is difficult to change. Changing mindsets takes a lot of work, but you can change it. That's what advertising and communication is all about. Could you share some of the campaigns, and especially those employee pledges that you are working in the UK to make these changes happen?
Thank you. Well, two things I think I should mention. One, later this year,
Just take the other mic, I think.
Thank you. Two things I should mention. Later this year, the Centre for Ageing Better is going to launch a national campaign against ageism, because we do feel we have to bring it much further up the agenda. Everything that has been said, ageism is everywhere, whether you look in health, whether you look in employment, whether you just look at your life in general. So we are at the moment just preparing to launch our campaign on ageism, and we hope that might spread beyond the United Kingdom. In November, we launched an employer pledge, because as we've discussed, we have a problem of employment for the 50 plus in the UK. And so this is a pledge in which employers sign up to do one. They have 5 options. We don't ask them, we're realistic that they're busy people. Just could they sign and do one thing per year? And then we will check. So we will check whether they are really beginning to make progress. So either they would sign up definitely to be more flexible about employing people of 50 plus, that when they advertise a job, they do it in a way that isn't age negative, it's age positive. The other thing they can sign up to is doing something health-wise for their employers. So the government at home is quite keen on a midlife MOT. So you get a sort of physical and general checkup on where are you at that point in life. And skills, they can sign up to, instead of saying, oh, you're 50, we're not going to train you, you know, further digitally, which is really dreadful. They sign up to that. And the fifth thing, which is much more nebulous, changing their culture within their organization. We're very keen on intergenerational working, because if you get a combination of younger workers and older workers, both benefit. And there's good research evidence that actually it's more productive. The OECD have done some good work there. So there are two things that at the moment we're very keen. And we've now got some big names have signed up. I've asked the British Library to sign up to this.
Well, thank you for that. And maybe India can take a page from that book. I'm going to go on to Mathew. You know, in your book, your back cover, it's quoted that even though 2020 to 2030 was declared as WHO's decade for healthy aging with the motto of leave no one behind, has the Indian government done enough to make citizens and humans safe, resilient, and especially initiatives like the Ayushman Bharat Yojana, have they been effective? I mean, I kind of know the answer, but we have to put this on record.
Yeah, well, you may know the answer, but actually, health for older adults, of course, Nidhi said the first question you ask is, how's your health? But actually, this is not true across the country. And in 2010, the government of India started a national program for healthcare of the elderly. And India has got 747 districts in the country. The objective of this program was to provide 10 geriatric beds in every district hospital in this country. And come 2021, we have only reached 210 districts in the country. So almost the rest of the districts do not have any form of geriatric care. And now, this coming to Ayushman Bharat. Ayushman Bharat is only a health insurance scheme. That means if you get to the hospital, you will be looked after. But the bulk of the problem in old age is not hospitalization. The bulk of the problem is non-communicable diseases like hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, various kinds of things, which require domiciliary care. It requires care at home, and for hypertension, of course, Carol, you're a doctor, so you can say one hypertensive tablet a day will keep you going for a long period of time. But if you're very poor and you do not have any form of sustenance, you end up having no medicine, and as a result of it, you go. And India is a country where children were the best form of social security. Today, children are not taking care of their parents, and as a result of it, social security is a crying need. If you look at the JLF back cover, there is the Rajasthan Chief Minister talking about social security, our top priority. And what is happening is across the country, 200 rupees per month is what is given to the poor elderly, which is about £2 or $3 per month. And this is what you may spend in a single day, but that is what is given as a pension. And 80 million people, elderly in the country, do not have any form of pension. So if the children don't send any money, they don't have any money. The government will not give you money. The children are not giving you money. Then what you suffer is destitution. And so this Ayushman Bharat is a scheme for a very, very small minority. And what I would campaign for is a universal health cover, like what you have in the NHS or what you have in Australia, etc. So you need to have health cover for all senior citizens. If you do not have, for you, old age will be a miserable existence. And I keep saying, this is no country for older people.
Just to lift the morale a little, we'll go to Silver Talkies. And could you tell us a little bit what you all are doing as a platform or a community about preventive healthcare? And you mentioned a little bit about active aging, but maybe between the two of you all can cover both those areas.
So I think, as Reshmi said, our focus has been on the urban older adults, right? And usually the people that we work with are people who are well educated, come with high, rich experience. And they are the ones who have a great enthusiasm and zeal towards, continuing their life very independently. So when we say active aging, it's more about what we have seen, like our journey has primarily been on the job learning. So the way we have seen them change over years of being part of a peer-led mechanism through this community format is that they actually do so much more better when they are together, because it's like they encourage each other, they support each other. So if for example, we have had cases where somebody is part of a health, like a fitness class, and they are struggling to, kind of do something and they're wanting to give it up. The others in the group will actually egg them on and say, no, you should continue, try it a little bit longer, right? And in that consistency that they tend to develop as part of that, they actually see the after effects of it and they do feel better. And, then it kind of, one, they have found that friendship, two, they have found that fitness, which they were kind of debilitating on. So that whole peer-led mechanism and the whole focus on the upskilling part or lifelong learning, the friendships, the loneliness. So that's all that we look at through Silver Talkies, that loneliness, isolation are not things which we really need, right? They are probably the easiest things that one can take away from all the issues and concerns that seniors have, right? And that has been the focus, that social and emotional well-being should be available, and loneliness and isolation should be a non-issue. And in the process, fostering that community. So that's broadly where we are with Silver Talkies' journey. Yeah.
To add to this, and also to Matthew's point, it is actually the truth that your socioeconomic factor plays such a big role in how you age. That is really the truth. But since, we'll talk about the area we work with, and to add to Nidhi's points, I'm coming back to the book. One of the reasons this book, the genesis of this book has been our journey with Silver Talkies and what we saw members do. A member of ours who is a widower actually has told us multiple times how being part of a group, a community, and it could have been any other community, we are very lucky that he chose us to be a part of. He said how it actually helped him emerge out of his shell. He had become a recluse, a very traditional Indian man, despite being an army man, very traditional. His wife did everything for him. She was, I guess, his social interactions were also largely driven, through her. And he told us how being part of Silver Talkies helped him come out of that social, that being a recluse, become part of, even if it started with being part of online events, it gradually went to making friendships within the community, then meeting those friends. He also encouraged by others, because these people talk among each other. They're in the, when you have programs, even if it's virtual, they discuss things with each other. I remember one program where he told us he started cooking on his own. This was during the lockdown when, they were in India during the lockdown. As most of you know, house help was not coming. For many people, it was like a complete change. He told us how he's trying, and he was encouraged by others in the group. There is a group mentioned, again, on this topic of social connect. There's a group mentioned in the book. It's in Noida. It's called Hum Joli. And the person running the group is this very vibrant ceramic artist called Meena Vora. And over the years, she says she has seen people who wouldn't step out of their house because, ghutno mein dard hai, joint pain hai, then, I can't see very well now. Multiple reasons, who actually started stepping out, encouraged by the group. The others would tell them, "Aapke ghutno mein dard hai, aap dekho, mere to 2 surgery ho chuki hai. I have had 2 heart surgeries. I'm still stepping out. I'm still doing this." So somehow this entire, the community can inspire, encourage each other. And like Nidhi was saying, we don't need loneliness and isolation to be issues. We just need to have, maybe put this in a systemic way where, people could be together. There's a way for people to build a bridge and have their community feeling.
You all touched upon the pandemic. Now, the pandemic was and lockdown was very hard on 2 specific categories. One were children and then the adults. And, I've seen people, even at the Lit Fest, after 2 to 3 years, and either they have aged or they are looking fit and fabulous because they had time to exercise. But honestly, in this pandemic, it was very difficult for the aged people, to live in this isolation. So Mathew, I'm going to start with you. Looking at technology, and it doesn't have to be Zoom. I mean, technology, even a cell phone penetration in local in villages. How has technology helped, or has it helped at all? And can you talk a little bit about age tech also?
Technology, especially digital technology, is something which many older adults find it very difficult. And in Helpage, we have had a program of digital inclusion, how to tell older people how to use a cell phone. Because many of the children, especially in the middle class, donate a smartphone to their older parents, telling we can be in connect with you. But they do not know how to operate the cell phone. And though the child may have taught you, they cannot remember all the ways that it works. And sometimes they come and say, how do I book this Ola taxi or a Uber taxi? And they do not know how to operate that app. So this has to go on. And actually, this is where I would like intergenerational learning to come about. Because we have a society which talks about Matradeva Bhava, Pitradeva Bhava, Guru Deva Bhava, etc. Your mother is God, your father is God. Why don't you teach them how to use the smartphone at home? Because very often parents, especially grandparents, need this kind of support to operate their cell phones. So during COVID, it was I would say, a house imprisonment for all older people. They could not go to the shops, they could not buy medicine. So we had harnessed a lot of young volunteers who could go purchase provisions or purchase medicines and reach their home. And of course, it was operated through a digital app, which was called a Helpage SOS app, whereby which they could call for a young volunteer to come. So this is something which I see a lot of younger people in the crowd. Most of you should try to at least meet up with an older person in your own colony or in your own street, so that you can be of some support to them. Because loneliness is a big problem in old age. And if you talk to them for even half an hour, that will be a great event in their life. You don't have to do great amount of social work across the country. You can just do it in your own neighborhood. This is something I would advise younger adults. And it came to us in great measure during the period of COVID. So I would encourage many of you to do so.
From social work to social media. I mean, how has social media celebrated the journey of aging and made it more acceptable? Reshmi, would you like to? I mean, I love the hashtag ditch the hair dye campaign that was in your book.
Thank you. So yes, I think social media and even media as such has actually helped push the narrative of aging actively, healthier, and not really caring that you're growing older, your wrinkles are showing, accepting your age. So social media actually does a lot around celebrate age. It's now very cool to own your wrinkles, your gray hair. In our book, yes, white beard too, Asad. So that is a good look for this.
Especially. See me looking different tomorrow.
So yes, we'll wait to see Asad's look tomorrow. And, so the Ditch the Dye is basically, it's just an Instagram hashtag that was popular around the time we were researching things for the book, where women are really celebrating their grace. They're no longer hiding it, ditching it, going in favor of gray hair than colored hair. And that actually is the truth, because a lot of us are aging, the ageism that comes with it. I think people are gradually better prepared to deal with it, better prepared to say that this is what happens when you age, deal with it. So yes, that has definitely given it a push.
Can I just add one more dimension to this? I think while they did need a lot of hand-holding in terms of technology adaptation and stuff, and we always kind of talk about it, how technology needs to be easy, adaptable for elders to adopt. But I think one beautiful thing that I saw emerging during the pandemic, while they were forced to go online and take to Zoom and spending a lot of time on YouTube and stuff, I think being online has suddenly also given them wings to try out new stuff, right? So like we had dance workshops, theater workshops running on our platform, and without having the need to step out of their homes, people who are challenged either to find transportation or have mobility issues, and in pandemic, they really found a way to really engage themselves because they were forced to adapt to technology. Right? So, and they continue to do that, right? Because they are still attending those sessions, they are still, finding those opportunities for them while sitting at home, and then now they are more eager and keen to learn new technologies because they have seen the benefit of it.
Sure. In the interest of time, I'm going to,
Well, just to say, on our website, we've now created a library of positive photography about old age, so anybody can use it, but rather than the awful images, of an older person with a stick, there's some wonderful images of older people at work enjoying themselves, playing, and it is a library for everyone, so on the centre's website.
In the interest of time and opening it up for audience questions, but I'm just going to ask you the last question because I know you've prepared for it. What are some of the similarities and differences that you have noticed in aging between the UK and India?
Well, I tried to find some data for you, and there was a study, 2018, a global study, small numbers, about 20K, 16 to 64-year-olds. And interestingly, you think in India, and remember this is before COVID, that old age starts at 62. The rest of the world tends to think around 66, which I thought was interesting. You have a more positive approach to aging than, say, the UK. So in that particular study, 73% of Indians who were asked, who filled in the questionnaire, thought that, getting older was okay. Only 38% of people in the UK thought it was okay. You seem to think that you would age healthier than we did, for certain. And in some countries of the world, so again, it was about 76 to 36%. So I would say on that particular study, this may not be true now, you had a more positive approach, and you certainly thought more than we did in the UK that the larger family would participate in your care. Right. We didn't think that at all.
Okay. I think on that positive note, we should open it up for a few audience questions, and then we can come, too many. Okay, VG, since I know you by name.
Thank you. First, I want to say how proud I am of Nidhi and Reshmi. Incredibly proud of these two young women.
Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you. It was simply amazing, simply amazing. I wanted to touch upon what Mathew, if I may use your first name, said about young people being there for older couples or older people in their neighborhood, in their vicinity. There's a very beautiful equation that works. Parents whose children don't live near them or with them, children whose parents are not with them. You know, in taking care and in giving time, attention, some affection and love to an older person who is not related to you, who's really nothing to you other than a neighbor. And it kind of goes around because you fill that void in you because your parents are far away. And then like my husband and I, we are 78 and 71, and we live on our own. Our children live far away. We have this wonderful couple next door, a very young couple, and I'm out at work the whole day, and they take care of, I mean, they take care of my husband, and they keep telling me that हमारे पापा मामा हमारे पास नहीं है, तो हमें बहुत अच्छा लगता है आपके यहाँ आना और आपसे मिलना. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Let's take two more quick questions. Keep them to questions, guys. We are really short of time.
I am Indu from Punjab University. The session was very good. But the thing is that when we are talking about personal things, that what is happening to the elders in the family, what's our governments doing within few years when the pension schemes are on the corporate hands, and when we are talking about UNO should do this, what we feel about that our governments are really responsible, and all the life, the young people did everything for their workplace, and at the old age, they are nowhere. So my question, Mathew, is how you take this?
Yeah, I've been campaigning for pension across the country, but I would say the government's attitude towards pension is very, very bad. And what they do is, some states retire people at 55 years. Some states retire people at 58. And of course, central government retires at 60. But the pension even for government servants has been withdrawn. And it has been changed to new schemes. They call it the new pension scheme. So constantly you hear even Rajasthan government saying, we want to go back to old pension scheme. Nobody wants a new pension scheme. So having said that, there is also an issue that 80 million people in this country do not get any form of pension. And so that is a big issue, which we have been campaigning with the National Social Assistance Program so that they do it. And Rajasthan, I'm happy to say, is one government which has given a universal pension of 500 rupees. It's a small amount, but it is a big step. Your Punjab government has increased it to 1,000 rupees. I am happy to say this was done during Captain Amrinder was there. But of course, there's much more to go. Telangana government gives 2,016 rupees, which is the best figure. So we hope that in the years to come, we'll be more successful in getting a universal pension for all of the younger people. When they age, you will probably have a universal pension.
Thank you for that. Can we get one last question? Let's take one from this side, the younger person in the black. Sorry.
Hi, I love the talk. I'm Tisha. I'm a researcher from Growing Young, and we actually work on reverse aging naturally by health, nutrition, personalized training, etc. And we were really interested in looking at the community aspect for it. So if we could, said, like, if I could talk to you later, Silver Talk is especially...
Question. No question? You can talk to them later.
All right. I can give you a quick thing. Of course, I may not be able to reverse aging, but...
your general thoughts.
We talk of 3 points. One is eat food in moderation, exercise in plenty, and the third thing is be socially connected. If you do these 3 things, you may be able to reverse aging.
And to wrap up this panel, Mathew has so eloquently given his summary. Any last words before we...
And don't smoke.
Oh, all right. Nidhi?
That's
Reshmi?
the best last word, actually.
What about drink? Drink is okay?
Drinking is, in moderation is okay.
Nina, we're meeting later. Anyway, thank you so much for this wonderful panel. I have so many more questions to ask you all, but I'm just going to end with a quote from this book, actually the beginning of this book. It was by Ingrid Bergman, and it says, "Getting old is like climbing a mountain. You get a little out of breath, but the view is much better." Thank you very much for joining us, and have a wonderful rest of the GLF day. I think they're going to announce some of the next steps.
A big round of applause once again for Carol Black, Nidhi Chawla, Mathew Cherian Reshmi Chakraborty, and Asad Lalljee for this beautiful session. I would say to the silver talkies, you know, some vocational program. I'm also a senior citizen, 63. I do ceramics. I found it very early. So something, if they can do with hand, it will really, you know, take care of the elders. And I'm going to open a studio for elder people.
EG, can I get a picture?
There